Good. I want to bring these parallel. Put the other one on the other end. Okay? And hold one side out. Fabulous. Put that one. Then next thing we'll just shove that in and try to flip it over. Okay, that's good enough. Looks real nice on you. So far, it's either this or the top. The one side. Let's try flipping that side. Flip it over and close it. Yeah, I'll tell you, let's, put that on. Let's let it down onto a block. I think it's okay, then we can let it down. Immediately there was nothing more. And this piece interests me because as you walk around it, it changes. It takes a while to figure out just what it is. There's a kind of tension there that is unexpected. You can't quite find the source of it. And it's simply, it's just a square with one of the right angles expanded somewhat, opens slightly. But you don't see that immediately. So as you move around it, it It really vibrates, keeps changing, and therefore the whole room keeps changing. And it works especially well with the lines on the floor because it's parallel and isn't parallel. It seems like it's set in relation to the lines, and then you notice this leg of it isn't, and I think it keeps moving around. I've tried to keep things as clear as possible. That is, I've tried to use very simple forms, not because I think that simple forms are better than complex forms or more interesting than complex forms, but because I think they're simpler, because I think they're less complex, because I think there's less to interfere with a kind of totality, a kind of a total thing happening that has to do with the form and the space and the room and everything else. I'm trying to create a situation where nothing stops you before I want you to be stopped. I'm trying to create a situation where you don't get hung up on beautiful the material is, or on how on this. So I use very simple forms because I want them to be immediately recognized as an X, as a T, as a square, as a rectangle, as a whatever, as a diagonal line, without anybody having to get involved in trying to figure out what that aspect of it is. Okay, I can create a situation that throws the whole room off, that changes the feeling of the whole place, that makes it in fact a different place, that makes you feel differently when you move through that place, as those Indians did as they moved from place to place in the desert. The strongest piece of sculpture that I've ever seen was not a sculpture at all. In fact, most of the strongest pieces of sculpture that I've ever seen were not sculptures at all, but were things in the world. The village that I lived in Mexico, a very small place, as I say, 50 people. The nearest place was 100 miles away. There was a place outside, just right outside the village, where for, who knows, 1,000 years, dances had been held, fiestas had been held, once a year, twice a year, not much more than that. And basically what it was a rectangular area in the desert where people had danced for 1,000 years. There were no markings, there were no boundaries, there were no fences surrounding it, but it was a piece of desert that was rectangular because people stood around the edges watching the other people dance. That rectangle of desert that had been pushed down, that had been compacted by 1,000 years of people dancing on it. You could feel that. And you could feel, there was no visible difference in level, there was no step down. You could feel, and it was a very powerful thing. And that's the kind of work that I'm trying to do. Those are the kind of feelings that I think it's possible to generate with an object. There are two ways that I'm interested in manipulating space. Both of them involve bounding space in a certain way, but in very different ways. One is by making boundaries, by making external boundaries. The piece in there is a piece that has a lot to do with external boundaries. It sets up sort of bounded areas in the room. It skews the room. It moves the center off center. It sets up a series of tensions, of vibrations because of that, because of it bounds out spaces that weren't there before. Okay, that's one way to do it. But another way to bound space is by making focus, by making an object, which then creates boundaries around it. Came here having no idea what I was going to make. I spent 2 days looking at this space, trying to feel this space, trying to figure out what I wanted this space to be, what I wanted it to feel like. But anyway, what I was thinking of with this form is, I guess the starting thing is two different things. One is just an interest in trying to activate space, to make an object which kind of changes the way a room or the space that it's in feels to the person who's seeing it, who's in the room. Changes the space, throws it off center, kind of jogs it off in one direction, unbalances it, creates a situation where the space begins to vibrate slightly.
Sound down? No? No, it's on. Does it matter? It's on. Yeah, oh no, it's on. Okay.
Which way? You have to. Just think about that for a second.
It's really not the other way.
But
From those entrances, at this end.
yeah, see, one of the problems here is I don't want it to reach across.
Yeah.
And from this end, from this doorway here, it reaches a little bit across. And I think if it didn't before, I think if it was skewed slightly more, it wouldn't. But let's do it together. Watch. One, two. To get that up in the back someplace. Let's see what that does. Okay, let's try that. I think we just move everything by hand. Got it? Then get on the other side, hold your, with your foot.